Shows Philip Seymour Hoffman as a homeless man sitting against the wall of the front of a liquor store. Shows George Carlin and Jan Hooks exiting the liquor store. Hooks. Oh, look at that poor guy. Do you have any money you can give him? Carlin rolls his eyes and says to himself, "It'll help me get laid." Carlin goes towards Hoffman, gives him change and says, "Here you go, sir." Hoffman. "Thank you, kind sir. Do you remember me?" Cuts to 2 years earlier, where Hoffman is a doctor working in a laboratory. John Belushi as Dr. Joliet walks in. Belushi. "Dr. Chicago, how is your research going?" Hoffman. "Wonderful, Dr. Joliet. I'm creating various tobacco-related products, just in case they ever spontaneously are created on their own, so that I'm able to find a cure for the harm that they may cause humans." Belushi. "Be careful with that sort of research." Hoffman. "Why do you say that?" Belushi. "I'm afraid there won't be enough money to be made on creating cures to tobacco products that don't otherwise exist, but for you making the products. How can we make money on a cure for something that only exists in a lab?" Hoffman. "Well, what do you suggest?" Belushi. "Perhaps some sort of compliance medication. Something to make people more amenable to following orders." Hoffman. "Well, doctor, I appreciate your concern, but here at Redacted Labs, my understanding is I have the autonomy to research whatever I choose. I didn't realize I had to be driven by profit motive." Belushi. "Fair enough." Hoffman. "What are you working on?" Belushi. "A compliancer apparatus. It's an automated machine that aids people into voluntarily complying with the voices the machine puts in their head." Hoffman. "Huh." Shows a hidden camera on the ceiling. Cuts to a room showing David Warner as David Lee Mann in a clean, well-lighted place, watching the doctors over a video monitor. Ernest Hemingway as Scott Key enters the room. Hemingway. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Lee Mann." Warner. "I need you to start the signal by ringing the bell at the top of the cathedral across the street." Hemingway. "For whom the bell tolls, sir." Warner. "Mr. Oppenheimer. Once he gets the signal, I believe we should be able to save the world." Hemingway. "A farewell to arms, then." Warner. "Eventually, but things might get a little dicey along the way." Hemingway. "So you're saying it will be a dangerous summer?" Shows a baby monitor in the room with the sound of a baby crying. Warner. "What's that infernal racket?" Hemingway. "The children of your new mistress, sir, that you're housing in Sector 6F. It appears that the daughter is woken up." Warner. "So she's no longer using transphobic epithets?" Hemingway. "No, I mean she's no longer sleeping." Warner. "How about the sun?" Hemingway checks the monitor and says, "It appears the sun also rises." Warner. "Very good. After you ring the bell for Oppenheimer, be sure to tend to the children." Hemingway. "Very well, Mr. Lee Mann. But one last thing." Warner. "What's that?" Hemingway. "What do you call a male octogenarian and his wife, who's a bit of a cunt? But you're being careful not to use foul language." Warner. "What's that?" Hemingway. "The old man in the sea?" And live from Origin's phone, we're not alive. It's Saturday Night Live. Neutered. Starring an ever-evolving cast that has been castrated and refuses to allow their names to be mentioned until their balls are back. Musical guest, Nolan, Neal, and your host, Paul Sorvino. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Sorvino. Applause, applause, applause. Sorvino. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Shows Tony Dow and Phil Hartman in the audience. Dow. Look, Phil, it's Paul Cicero from Goodfellas. Hartman. Wow, Wally, Dow interrupts. It's Tony? Hartman. Leave it to you to break my train of thought. Anyway, wow, Tony. A made man. I can't believe it. Move over, Tony Sirico. Shows Sirico sitting next to Hartman, who slightly moves over. Sorvino. No, guys, most people think I'm either a gangster or a cop or something, but shows Paul Vario in the audience who says, wow, a copper? I can't believe it. Sorvino. No, Mr. Vario, while I portrayed you in Goodfellas, people often think of me as a cop. I'm not actually a cop. Vario. So I can keep running the underground poker game in the bathroom then. Sorvino. I guess so. Anyway, reality is I was a sculptor, a painter, a best-selling author, many, many things. A poet, an opera singer, but none of them was a gangster. But Dow interrupts. While that may be true, sir, wouldn't you agree that you have a knack for playing such a role? Sorvino. Leave it to you to keep interrupting everybody, but yes, while I do have a knack for playing such a role, I'm looking to disabuse people of the notion that I'm a slow-moving, heavy-lidded thug. And most people's impression of me is that, because of the success of Goodfellas. Ray Liotta comes out. Applause, applause, applause. Liotta. Hey, Paulie, welcome to the afterlife. Sorvino stands face-to-face with Liotta and says, listen, Ray, I'm trying to tell everybody, I'm not just some gangster from Goodfellas. Being labeled like that ain't going to happen to me, you understand? Liotta. Uh-huh. Sorvino. I don't need that kind of heat. If you see anybody fucking around typecasting me, you're going to tell me, right? Liotta. Yeah. Sorvino slaps Liotta and says, that means anybody. Sorvino nods towards Dow and Hartman. Liotta exits the stage and chases Dow and Hartman out of the audience. Sorvino. We got a great show tonight. Singer Nolan Neal, a former contestant on America's Got Talent, and The Voice is here. So sick, Chris Farley enters, interrupts Sorvino, and says, hey everybody! I wanted to remind everyone to make sure to get vaccinated for COVID-19. The current administered vaccines are approved and confirmed to be safe and effective by local health authorities and by the World Health Organization. And don't forget your boosters. We'll be right back.